What did the Africans do to be punished by God? You said that was a punishment to certain Africans. What did Africans do to receive that punishment?
Right.
What was their sin?
Read 47 again.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God.
Now, I just, the thing is, I use that term African loosely because that's what they called us. Because we were on that continent with the native.
Every name is a name that was given. The oppressor always names his oppressed.
Right.
So names are important, but names also divisive.
Right.
And so I understand that no one, when Adam had dominion over that what God gave him the ability to name it because he put him over that. We name things in order to show our dominance over it.
Exactly.
So I understand that African, that was just a name that they use in order to show, if I can control you, I name you. My kids, right. I made my kids, so I named them. Because shows I'm that parent, so right. I get that. So yeah, I understand. But my question becomes: those who were in the continent of Africa,
yep.
if they were, what did they specifically do to deserve the punishment of God? That's the part I'm trying to, that I didn't hear. Tell me what that one transgression was.
Now, I was looking at one of your Facebook lives. I think it was from July 2nd on my way up here, and I was hearing you talk about it was going into Esther. When you read the passage in Esther, you talk about how Mordecai was telling her that you came to this seat for this particular thing. So I was listening to that list. I didn't get through the whole thing, and I did hear you say that you mentioned Vashti. You called her Vashti. We say Vashti. So, it's neither here nor there. You said she's probably a sister. You said Esther was a sister too. You said it's black people throughout the entire Bible, right? That's one of the things that's not being taught in the churches.
But you just heard me teach them, you heard in my sermon, so you can't say it's not being taught. You heard in my sermon.
Here's the difference, Pastor. You said it, but you didn't show them.
I don't have to show them that. So preaching is it? So I show them in Bible studies.
Let me give you an example, right? Go to Esther. Matter of fact, go to Esther. I'm gonna show you what I mean, and then I want to get to what we really came to talk about.
Well, I appreciate you watching my sermon.
Yeah. I didn't want to come like unfamiliar with anything.
I appreciate you watching my sermon.
Yeah. Start at Esther chapter 1 and look at verse 5.
Sir, the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 5. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace.
No, I'm sorry. 2 and 5. Yeah.
Esther chapter 2 and verse 5. Now in Shushan...
You can read 4 because that'll mention Vashti as well.
And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing pleased the king, and he did so.
Right, so that was the council. Once they were casting her out, they said, let somebody else take her place. Go ahead.
Now in Shushan the palace there was a certain Jew, whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
So now, that's key right there. It says Mordecai was a Benjamite. Now you already know that Esther was part of that same family line. Okay, Mordecai was her uncle. Okay, now jump down to verse 7.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to highlight Benjamites there. Read verse 7.
Verse 7. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Okay, so now, real quick, Romans.
Yes, sir.
You know what I want, right?
Yes, sir.
Jump to the New Testament.
Romans chapter 11 and verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid.
Now this is the Apostle Paul. He said, has God cast away his people? Come on.
For I also am an Israelite, of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So now look at that. He says, no, God has not cast away his people, because that was the thought at the time. Remember, you had the lost tribes and so forth. Paul said God has not cast away his people. He also, what? Read it one more time.
Sir. God has not cast away his people. I'm sorry, God forbid. For I also am an Israelite.
This is Paul. I also am an Israelite.
Of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Of the tribe of Benjamin, the same tribe Mordecai and Esther came from. Now, Acts 21. This is another account of Paul right here. Watch what it says here in Acts 21.
Acts chapter 21, verse 37. And as Paul was to be led into the castle, he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek?
So the chief captain said, Hey, what do you can speak Greek, Paul? Go ahead.
Art thou not that Egyptian, which before these days madest an uproar?
Now, that's key because the guard, which was a Roman guard, said, Aren't you an Egyptian? Meaning what? He looked like an Egyptian. He was a so-called black man, but he said, I'm from the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, come on, watch this.
Yes, sir. And led us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
Paul,
he mistook him for somebody else. That wasn't Paul, but he thought he was that Egyptian guy. Read on.
But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew,
Who?
a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city.
No mean city, meaning he wasn't from the hood and so forth. So Paul was a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin that looked like an Egyptian. Same thing with Esther, same thing with Mordecai back then. So through these precepts, we can show our people.
Egypt is in Africa.
Correct.
Garden of Eden was just outside of Ethiopia.
Correct.
It's all in Africa.
Correct.
Everything originated in Africa.
Right.
What happened was white supremacists decided to co-opt the gospel.
Correct.
And shift Eden and Israelite, all that, into Europe.
Correct.
And made people think that somehow the church comes out of Europe. Church never came out of Europe. The church was co-opted into Europe.
Right.
Everything came out of Africa.
Right.
There weren't no blonde, blue-eyed folk in the Bible. That's something that came later with my images. So, and I've taught my people that for years.
Gotcha.
None of us think the argument is we've taken a white man's religion. We know it's not we white folk took it and co-opted and distorted it. Mm-hmm. But everything came out of Kemet is Egypt. It's all out of Africa. So we understand. So I've taught my folk that that this all these white folk blind is not a proper interpretation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, and that's why I want to show you that, because that's a commonality that we have. I heard you say that, and I'm like, okay, he said that. Yeah. That's a good thing right there. But I want to just back it up with biblical text, how the Benjamites are quote-unquote black people. They look like Egyptians. So now, give me Deuteronomy 28. Now the thing about the term Jew, which you probably already know, I'm just saying it just in case. The term Jew comes from Judah, which was one of the tribes of the nation of Israel, right? Yep. It primarily denoted just Judah, then it became Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, right? Those three. That's why Paul said, being a Benjamite, he said, I'm a Jew. But Deuteronomy 28 and verse, give me Deuteronomy 1:1, and then let's jump to 28:15.
Yes, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side of Jordan in the wilderness. Mm-hmm.
So now, as you know, Moses delivered the children of Israel out of Egypt, and these are the words that he spoke to them when they came out. So now, we just want to highlight some of those. And again, going back to your lesson, because I heard you say this, you mentioned throughout the lesson that you didn't say specifically. Yeah, you did. You said our non-melanated people, like they didn't go through the things that we went through, right? None of the nations went through the stuff that we went through. So, give me verse 32.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
You see that? This is a curse upon the Israelites. It says, your sons and your daughters shall be given unto another people. Go ahead.
And thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
Yep.
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
No military might, no economic might, no physical might, or political or so forth to get our sons and daughters back. This is going back to the continent of Africa, because we were dispersed amongst there. That's where they snatched most of us up from. And it says what again? 32?
Yes, sir. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
And we see that highlighted in these movies. They put it in the movies right in front of our face. 12 Years a Slave, the movie Roots and so forth. We know that's our history. But what we don't know is Moses prophesied that would happen to us, and that's who we are. Okay? Come on, read it.
We don't.
Yeah.
The fruit of thy
No,
land.
37. I'm going to just get through a couple of them, just throughout the chapter. I ain't going to read the whole thing.
And thou shalt become an astonishment.
No, call the verse.
Verse 37. Deuteronomy 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
Now that there says, thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Now, let's just get to verse 68, and let's see how it says, whether the Lord shall lead thee. How will we scatter throughout all the nations of the earth? Verse 68. Watch this, and we're going to come back to that.
Chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee...
You see how it says, and the Lord? Because the bottom of verse 37 said, whither the Lord shall lead thee. Meaning what? His hand was upon those people to put us in those conditions because we disobeyed him. Watch this, 68.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Now, stop. Because remember, going back to 28, verse Deuteronomy 1:1, it says, these are the words which Moses spake unto Israel in the wilderness. So they were already delivered out at this time. Read that again before we go.
Yes, sir. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
So stop there. Go to the precept.
Yes, sir.
It says, the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again. They were already out of Egypt. So it's like, what are you talking about? Egypt again. What's the Egypt mean? 28.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2.
Yeah.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
I brought you out of the land of Egypt.
Out of the house of bondage.
Out of the house of bondage. That's what Egypt means, is bondage. That word comes from Mizraim, which means restrictions, bound, and so forth. So when you read that term Egypt, it means the house of bondage. That's what it means there. It's synonymous. So back to 28.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With what?
With ships.
So now, you're going to go back into Egypt or bondage, but this time you're going to go with ships. Okay, that's how we got to America, okay, North, Central, and South America, the coast, and so forth. Different lands. We were brought here on slave ships. Read it again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again.
The same way I told you, it's going to happen just like that. Read on.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
Now, what other nation on this planet Earth can say they were brought somewhere on ships and sold to other people? Nobody can say that. Okay, so again, this is talking about the Israelites.
If you go back and look close at history, there were others that were sold, just like even whites were sold in ships. Now, the difference, what makes our unique, is because of the fact that slavery is not unique to black folk. What is unique to black folk and slaves in America is what's called chattel slavery. Chattel slavery means you're slave for the rest of your life. Slavery has always been in existence. Servitude, 70 years servitude. You always so right. There's always been slave trades throughout the world in history. If you read other world histories, you'll find that slave trade. I would also argue that there's no record of the brutality that was inflicted upon African Americans.
Right.
I agree with that.
Right.
But the slave trade was always something that was always that it wasn't new to us. Slave trade was always in existence in some form. Anytime you went to war,
right.
What are the spoils of war?
No, I get that.
The slavery.
Right, I understand that. But this that's what this is talking about here. So, like you mentioned, chattel slavery.
Yeah. That's
what the slave ships are talking about right there. So no,
I would argue the Bible's not referring to chattel slavery. Chattel slavery is a result of Europeans.
Right.
That's what this Europeans.
As I get through it, you'll see what I'm trying to.
And I apologize. I shouldn't interrupt.
No, that's fine.
My memory is not what it used to be, and if I don't respond now, I may not remember.
No, that's fine. But go ahead, I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah,
so, as a matter of fact, if you want to, do that as we go through this, that's fine. So, read it again, 28:68.
Yes, sir. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
You wouldn't see your homeland again. Go ahead. As a nation of people, read.
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
It says, you shall be sold, and no man shall buy you, which means redeem. Give me that in verse 29 to show that buy and redeem is synonymous there.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as the blind gropeth in darkness. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore.
Right, this is what this is talking about. Chattel slavery. You should be only what?
Oppressed and spoiled evermore.
Come on.
And no man shall save thee.
That was the point. When it says no man shall buy thee, that meant no man shall save thee. We would be in those conditions until we come back to who we are and repent as a people. Okay? Until Christ returns. So now, I just want to get that point because I read verse 37, right? Read 37 again.
Yes, sir.
That bottom part says, whether the Lord shall lead thee. Read it again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
So now that part about a byword, for example, just like you just mentioned, okay? We're called African Americans. Though that name in itself, both of those terms rather, the term Africa comes from Caucasian man, Leo Scipio Africanus. America comes from Amerigo Vespucci.
Yep.
So how is it that they attach two Caucasian men's names to us? That's a byword, right? Just like a bicycle. It's one vehicle with two wheels on it, bicycle. We're called a byword, okay? All these different names that they gave us since slavery, niggas, colored, Afro-American, African-American, all these different names they put upon us. Why? To keep you away from understanding who you really are. Read it again. 37.
Yes, and thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
And again, going back to, like you mentioned, yes, other nations had a certain level of slavery and servitude and so forth, but they never lost completely who they were. They always knew, okay, we're the Chinese, we're the Japanese, we're the Caucasians, whatever we are. They still knew who they were throughout their time in servitude or whatever the case, because it was temporary. They weren't stripped of completely who they were. Read it one more time.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
Verse 41.
Verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
You see that? They shall, your sons and daughters shall go into captivity. That's why we know there's a remnant of our people still left on the continent back there. Many of us, our ancestors that were brought here, we were raised on this side, but our ancestors are still over there, some of them. Read again.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
Come on, read 43.
Verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
It says the stranger, because remember, again, like I said earlier, there was a mixed multitude amongst the Israelites when they came out of Egypt. So now, this was spoken to them in the wilderness. He said what again?
The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high.
They were not the same people. It says that Moses told them, the strangers that's amongst you right now, there's going to come a time they're going to get up above you very high. Go ahead.
And thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him.
Right, and that's the conditions we live in today. We don't lend to the other nations. Everything we get, we have to borrow, scrape, grab, claw at, just to try to get just a little glimpse of success. Okay, come on.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
You see what God says? The other nations shall be the head, and you're going to be the tail. This all goes back to verse 15. Let's get 15 one more time,
sir.
And then we'll go back.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
Notice it says commandments and statutes. It never said Presbyterian, Methodist, Pentecostal. It never said that. Commandments, statutes. Come on.
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Okay, that's the point. Just highlighting why we were going through these things as a people. Back to where we started at, 44.
Verse 44.
Left off.
He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
Go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed.
Watch this.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to keep his commandments and his statutes.
So again, this is just the foundation of what one of the reasons why we go out to teach is to teach our brothers and sisters. Listen, brothers, this is why our communities are like they are, because we're not keeping God's commandments. We don't know we're the Israelites, and we fell because we broke God's commandments. Come on.
Yes, sir. Which he commanded thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign.
Now that right there. They shall be upon thee for a what?
For a sign.
That's talking about the curses. The curses shall be upon thee for a sign. When we pull it up, it's just like this sign on the desk. I know that's you. We came here, you told us who you were, but that's a sign. That's a sign indicating whose desk this is. The sign on the outside of the church indicates what building this is. It's not a McDonald's sign on the building. We know the sign says this is, a church. Read it again.
And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
These curses shall be a sign to identify your children forever. So now when we read through these things, we can identify, okay, did this happen to the Chinese? Did this happen to the Caucasian? Did it happen to the Arab? No, these things happen to the so-called African Americans, Hispanics, Native Americans, and so forth. Okay, those of Native and Indian descent. Come on.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Right. God says, because you didn't want to serve me, okay, I'm going to make you serve your enemies. Okay, now, this next verse here is going to identify the specific enemy that brought us into slavery on those slave ships. Watch this. It's going to identify them. Read.
Therefore shalt
the
thou...
next two verses.
Yes, sir. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
You see what it says again? Which the Lord shall send against thee. Because oftentimes we think back, how is it that if because we are also taught that we are all Africans on the same coast and so forth. How is it that they got our people and not the other quote unquote Africans that were there? Because God, his hand was upon them to punish us for our iniquity. Okay, read it again.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee.
Yep.
In hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness.
So now it says for hunger, that means food, you have to serve your enemies. For thirst, that's water, you have to serve your enemies. And in nakedness, for the clothes on our very backs, we have to serve our enemies. Yes,
so
sir.
what did the Africans do to be punished by God? You said that was a punishment to certain Africans. What did Africans do to receive that punishment?
Right.
What was their sin?
Read 47 again.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy 28, verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God.
Now, the thing is, I use that term African loosely because that's what they called us. Because we were on that continent with the native.
Every name is a name that was given. The oppressor always names his oppressed.
Right.
So names are important, but names also divisive.
Right.
And so I understand that no one, when Adam had dominion over that what God gave him the ability to name it because he put him over that. We name things in order to show our dominance over it.
Exactly.
So I understand that African, that was just a name that they use in order to show, if I can control you, I name you. My kids, right. I made my kids, so I named them. Big shows, I'm that parent, so I get that. So yeah, I understand. But my question becomes, those who were in the continent of Africa, if they were, what did they specifically do to deserve the punishment of God? That's the part I'm trying to, that I didn't hear. Tell me what that one transgression was.
Right. So get Exodus 11:7, and then we're gonna come right back to this, so I can show the difference.
Yes,
all right, and then I'm gonna come back to this.
Because if they didn't do it, then you're suggesting to us that slavery was God ordained, and I don't think you're saying that, but that's what it sounds like. That's the track you're taking. You may be saying that slavery was God ordained. Then are you suggesting also the curse of Ham?
No. Now I will get to that if we have time. I know you only got an hour, so we're about halfway there. Exodus 11:7.
Exodus chapter 11, verse 7. But against any of the children of Israel shall not
against any of the children of who?
the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast.
Now this is during and right after the time of the plagues of Egypt. So he says, ain't nobody gonna speak against the children of Israel. Read it again.
But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast.
Against either man or any of our animals. Go ahead.
That ye may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel.
Although they look the same, they have similar skin complexion. God says, I put a difference between the Egyptians and the children of Israel. Same way with the plagues, right? How he afflicted the Egyptians, but nothing fell upon us as the Israelites. So now go back to 28. So while we were on the continent, yes, we look the same, but we're not the same people. So when God, read 47 again.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 47. Because
Let me see. 46 to 7 again.
yes, sir. Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign.
Again, that's the key. These curses shall be upon thee for a sign. Go ahead.
And for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Go ahead.
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart.
Notice it says because. So this is the reason. Because what?
Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things.
Go ahead.
So that says why they were cursed, but why would the Africans in the Ivory Coast and around there, what did they do to deserve God to cause us to go into slavery? That's the part I'm still.
No. That's what this is talking about. This is talking about us that were on the Ivory Coast and so forth. Now, let me get to that. Let's jump to the New Testament real quick, and let's deal with what Christ said. All right, in Luke, and I'm gonna show you why I say that. Matt, let's Luke, you know what I want, right?
21:20.
Yeah, let's go there.
You want to jump to the point? All right.
Yes, I think so.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for the sake of time.
Luke chapter 21 and verse 24. And they,
You know what? No.
20?
20.
Yes, sir. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
Now, just turn it around just so we can see for reference, right? All of those words are in red, so you know who's speaking there. So read it again.
Yes, sir. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies.
When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, go ahead.
Then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Know your destruction is near. Go ahead.
Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
Let them that are in Judea flee into the mountains. So now that mountains is talking about into Africa. Remember, back then you could walk back and forth. When they came out of Egypt, they walked to the promised land. They created something now called the Suez Canal, right? That divided the land, but back then you could walk between the two. So now Christ was saying flee into the mountains. Go deeper into Africa. Give me that in Matthew 2 so we can show that.
Matthew chapter 2 and verse 13. And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying,
Now, remember, Christ was in Jerusalem at this time with Joseph and Mary. Go ahead.
Arise, take the young child and his mother, and
hide him in Egypt.
And flee into Egypt.
There you go. So now,
The question becomes, how do you hide in Egypt if you don't look like?
right, exactly.
Yeah. You have to look like, in order to hide, you have to look like those whom you hide with. Yeah, I get that.
Same thing with Paul.
Yeah.
The guard said, "Aren't you an Egyptian?"
Yeah.
No, he said, "No, I'm a Jew from the tribe of Benjamin." But now go back to Luke 20,
Luke
21.
Chapter 21 and verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains.
So Christ was telling the Israelites at that time, y'all need to go into Egypt again, go further into Africa. Read on.
And let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries enter in. Oh man, let me start over. And let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto.
So if you're not in Jerusalem, don't come back. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which are written may be fulfilled.
That's the key right there. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things that are written may be fulfilled. So what is Christ prophesying? He was prophesying of a future event that was written aforetime. So the same thing Moses wrote about in Deuteronomy 28, Christ was saying those things are going to be fulfilled upon you in Jerusalem. Okay, come on.
But woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days.
Yep.
For there shall be great distress in the land,
Now, really, specifically, this is going into 70 A.D., the destruction of Jerusalem. Okay, but read on. Watch this.
And wrath upon this people.
Uh-huh.
And they shall fall by the sword, the edge of the sword.
Go ahead.
And shall be led away captive into all nations.
The Israelites shall fall by the sword and be what?
And be led away captive into all nations.
The Israelites will be led away captive into all nations. Go ahead.
And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
So now that's telling us right there that the true Israelites are not in Jerusalem as a nation. Those are Gentiles over there. The Israelites, the true Israelites, were led away captive into all nations. Christ said that out of his own mouth right there. Read that part again.
Yes, sir. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down.
No, from the top.
Yes, sir. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations.
Now, why did I want to go here? Because remember, Christ said, flee into the mountains. So they were in Jerusalem, they fled further into Africa, and from there you got hundreds, maybe a couple thousand years roughly. I'll say 1,000. I'm just throwing a number out there, right? Hypothetically. They were in Africa, time goes on, and from there we were taken from the Ivory Coast, west coast of Africa, because we settled there. Okay, and we were led away captive into all nations, including America on this side.
That's a big stretch to not think that though they were sent there, they all stayed there. They still would have, through the Jewish diaspora, they would have moved out beyond those parts.
No, some of them did, absolutely, 100%.
That's a big stretch
No,
to say.
I agree with that.
That's the linchpin to that. But I mean, I get it.
Yeah. No. I agree with that. Yeah. We get Deuteronomy 4:27 to validate what he just said right there.
Yes, sir. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, and verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among among the nations.
Read it again from the top.
And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
Right. So that term heathen just means the other nations. But yeah, we were led amongst.
Heathen would be anybody other than, they would have seen anybody other than Israelite would have been considered a heathen.
Exactly.
As would have been a Gentile.
Exactly.
Anyone
Yes,
not
sir.
of Hebrew would have been a Gentile.
Yes, sir. Correct. So that validates your point.
Because race would not have. Race is a social construct, so race is not something that came about much later through the need for white supremacy and slavery. But at that particular time, race was not even a part of the. I would argue that race was not an issue at that particular point. Not the way that we treat race.
Yeah, absolutely.
We treat race, because even here. Race is treated differently. At one time, you mentioned Irish Americans, Catholic Americans, but then at some point in time, you just were white and black. All that was the social construct. That was intent to do all that to separate and to create a greater oppression among whites and blacks. And so now folk are no longer just Irish American; they were just Americans and then African Americans. Yeah.
Right. So what did you have for me?
Oh, you just read Deuteronomy 4:27. It was Luke.
Okay. So we were making the point about how Christ prophesied that everything that was written may be fulfilled. And remember, he said they should be led away captive into all nations. So that goes right back to Deuteronomy 28. Because remember, when Christ was saying that in the book of Luke wasn't written. It wasn't written at that time. Okay. So Christ was referencing something that was written aforetime, which was the books of Moses. Okay. Matter of fact, give me that in Matthew. You know what I'm talking about? Is it 5? Let me see.
So when you say Luke wasn't written, what do you mean by that?
Like literally, Christ wasn't reading out of Luke. He wasn't reading out of Matthew, Mark, John when he walked the earth. He wasn't reading those books.
So those were written about 40 years later, but that is correct. They weren't documented, but those scrolls, or at least those first five books, were part of the oral tradition. All of it was written later. So the fact that I'm not sure where you're going with that to say it wasn't written because Jesus was living it, but at the same time you got an oral tradition that there was carried. So nothing was written, but they were all aware of it because again, what was called based upon an oral tradition that each generation taught the next generation their own history.
Right. So you got it.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Let me see. It might be John.
You're talking about
It's chapter 5. 5 and
Search the scriptures.
no, you can start at John chapter 5 and 46.
Oh, I got you. Yes, sir. John chapter 5, verse 46. For if ye had believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?
You see that? Christ said, what again? Read that again.
For if ye had believed Moses, ye would have believed me, for he wrote of me.
So it says Moses wrote of Christ. In the first 5 books, Moses wrote about Christ. Yes, he's in there. Read on.
But if ye believe not his writings, how shall ye believe my words?
Well, no, you're leaving out quite a. So the writing of me, when Jesus says that, he's talking about the Messiah. The Jews recognize there was to be a Messiah deliverer. They just don't think it's Jesus. And what
Correct.
Jesus is trying to convince them, the Messiah that you're writing about is now, he is that person. So when you take that one portion of that and read that, it's somewhat problematic because there's no context to that. The context is it that they're simply that they being the Jews don't recognize who Jesus is. So Jesus says, in order for y'all to know who I am, you might not believe me, but don't you believe Moses? Don't you believe the other prophets? And so he's trying to make an argument that he is the Messiah, not that he is Jewish. The tension in the New Testament is not that they all acknowledge that Jesus was Jewish. What they do not acknowledge is he's the Messiah. So all the conversations that are written are the argument to prove that he is the Messiah.
Correct.
So he's not just out, but he is God.
Correct.
Maybe that's why they wanted him dead, because he committed blasphemy by saying he was God, and no one has said it. But he didn't blaspheme because he really was God.
Right. He didn't blaspheme at all. Yeah. Right. So I agree with you, but the reason I read it, right? So read it one more time.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that is the context. Christ was saying, listen, he wrote of a Messiah, and I'm that guy. Mm-hmm. So yes, I agree with that.
John
46.
John 5 and 46. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me.
Right, he wrote of a Messiah, right? But watch this part.
But if ye believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words?
Now that part right there, if you don't believe his writings, how should you believe my words? Because remember, we read in Deuteronomy 28, Moses' writings, that the Israelites would go into slavery on ships. Christ said in Luke 21, or was it 20 or 21?
Chapter 21.
Luke chapter 21, that the Israelites will be led away captive into all nations. Those two scriptures correlate because they're saying the same thing. Christ didn't just say ships there, but he says, if you don't believe Moses, you don't believe my words.
Now you have to remember, don't conflate the two together. The writings that he's writing about are the Mosaic laws that were given, which were expounded out of the 10 Commandments. So you have keep in mind keep in mind that Moses wrote the first 5 books. They say it's somewhat problematic that he writes Deuteronomy because he records his death. So how do you record your own death?
Right.
So the writing, so they would have been the audience that Jesus was talking to was really the Jewish religious leaders who would have adhered to those Jewish laws. There was about 640 laws of Moses. And so they would have said in order to be in right relationship with God, you had to follow those 600 some laws. And what Jesus coming to them and said, no, it's not about the law. That's a legalistic viewpoint. It is accepting me, is how you say. So I got you, but then but you're conflating that particular text. That might not be the best text to grab.
You're saying in terms of correlating Deuteronomy with...
No, I'm saying when you talk about, when you say the laws of when Jesus says the law, if you believe my laws, you believe in it, then say that's a connection to slavery.
Well, no. It's all in there because remember, Moses wrote the first 5 books. Now, you mentioned a point about, Deuteronomy mentions his death and so forth. How could he write about his own death? Give me real quick. I don't want to get too far off, but second Esdras. Now, I wanted to get to this matter of fact, so I guess it's perfect transition. Now, I'm pretty sure you've heard of this. Hold that book up so you can see this. Pretty sure you heard of those, right?
Yeah, the Apocrypha. Those are the books those books that weren't included in the Apocrypha are in the Catholic Bible. There were books that were left out when the Bible was canonized. It was canonized with a certain number of books. Then you also had what happened later when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, which was another set of books that predated. So we all know that the current canonized books is not all of the books. I would say the oldest book, the oldest Bible is actually the Ethiopian Bible.
Correct.
The Ethiopian Bible predates the Hebrew Bible.
Correct. There.
So yeah, the Apocrypha. Those are the Book of Maccabees. All those books. Those are found in.
So now
the book of there's quite a few books in there.
Right. You got Second Esdras, which I want to go to now.
Yeah.
Second Esdras, Maccabees, Baruch.
Yep.
So forth and so on. Now my Bible has it in there. This is a 1611 King James version. When the Bible was originally translated in 1611, they had them in there. They were in there. They weren't taken out until early 1800s and so forth. That's when they started to remove them. Okay. Now what's key about that time period is because remember, from the 1600s, really 1400s on up, right? They started to. I'm kind of going back too far, but I'll just start at 1600s. We know they say we came here in what year? 16 what?
Well, they say 1619.
They say that, right? 1619.
I would say 1619. Is
Okay,
good.
right.
If I'm gonna put a number on, I'll say 1619.
So now this is, let's just, for hypothetically, that's the beginning of chattel slavery. It happened before that, but that's the beginning. So now, why would they start taking those books out while we were in slavery? Because they can now begin to reintroduce the Bible to us and teach us false doctrines without some of the records being in there. You can still get it, right? But you have to buy it separately. Like this book, this Bible right here is like 150 bucks. Most people can go to Walmart and get the $20 version. They don't want this. Why would I buy this one? But I want to get some out of here real quick. Though.
You have to remember what you also not included is what's called a Protestant Reformation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's part of it. That's that during this right. 17,
so the Protestant would the Protestant with the Protestant Reformation, you do have this breaking apart with that, and so I would say that the Protestant Reformation has as much to do with those books taken out as some others conspiracy do.
1,000. I agree with you 100%. Now, but this still goes back to your original point when we first came in. This whitewashed version of Christianity, because it was always in there. So now you had the white Catholics and the white Protestants fighting on how, to control the books.
Both of which were slave owners.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But the Bible predates all of them. So
it does.
I agree with you. Now, so 2nd Esdras 14.
Yes, sir.
Because we're going here to deal with, like, in terms of Moses and his writings and so forth. 2nd Esdras 14.
Yes, sir. 2nd Esdras chapter 14 and verse 1. And it came to pass that on the 3rd day I sat under an oak, and behold, there came a voice out of a bush over against me, and said, Esdras, Esdras. And I said, I am here, Lord, and I stood upon my feet.
Now this Esdras is the same Ezra in the Bible. Okay, in the quote-unquote Old Testament. Read it.
Then said he unto me, In the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses.
So now he's telling Esdras, in the bush I did manifestly reveal myself unto Moses. Go ahead.
And talked with him when my people served in Egypt.
Yep.
And I sent him.
It says when my people served in Egypt. Go ahead.
And I sent him and led my people out of Egypt.
Yep.
And brought him up to the Mount of Sinai, where I held him by me a long season.
Right. 40 days, 40 nights. Read.
And told him many wondrous things.
Now, this is the part I want to get to. He told Moses many wondrous things. Go ahead.
And shewed him the secrets of the time.
He says he showed Moses the secrets of the times. That's Genesis chapter 1, right? Moses wasn't there. Moses had to show him that to record it down. So the same way him recording, how can he record Genesis when he wasn't there? It says the Most High did what?
And shewed him the secrets of the times, and the end.
And the end. Go ahead.
And commanded him, saying, These words shalt thou declare, and these shalt thou hide.
Okay, so some words declare plainly, some hide in mysteries and so forth. Paraphrase that. But that's the point I wanted. He showed him the secrets of the times and the end. So now when you read in the first 5 books, you got stuff that happened thousands of years before Moses' time. Genesis chapter 1, he wasn't there. Okay, he recorded, on the first day. He wasn't there. Most High showed him that. Just like in Deuteronomy 28, he showed him the end times, which is our time now. Deuteronomy 28 reference or specifically talking about chattel slavery. Okay, now go back to Deuteronomy 28.
Sir.
40, where we start there? 40,
start at 46.
I got to finish that
48.
identifying who we was talking about.
Yes, sir. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 48.
So now, he showed him the secrets of the times and the end. Watch what it's saying here.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst.
We read this
and
earlier.
in
So you
nakedness,
have to serve your enemy for hunger, thirst, and in nakedness.
and in want of all things.
Anything you want, you would have to get it from your enemy, including, guess what, religion. In chattel slavery, they spoon-fed us, like you already said, that whitewashed version of Christianity. Okay, go ahead.
And he,
Now, this is identifying a particular enemy. God says, and he what?
and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
That's nobody else's history. That's Israelite history, but nobody went through that other than us. It says he would put a yoke of iron upon your neck until what?
Until he have destroyed thee.
Again, like you said earlier, okay, chattel slavery. That's the difference between our slavery and everybody else's. But again, Moses is writing about the Israelites there. Okay? So, what nation of people put yokes of iron on our necks? Because I said, he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Who did that to us?
So Europeans did it, but again, I'll get back to the fact that we weren't the only ones.
We're talking about literal yokes of iron. Where can you see in a reference in history?
Well, you can make an argument that's not a literal. That's a figurative. That's a figurative. Yoke. A yoke is a controlling ability. So what the argument is that they're not talking about a physical yoke, but talking about the ability to control. What do? You take an ox, you control him.
Yeah.
And so place upon controls upon a people. They put. I would argue that the chains didn't control us in slavery. It was the mental, the what they did to us mentally, inflicted us. Just like when so you could chain me to stop me from running, but if you got me to the point where I felt nothing about myself, I wouldn't know what they wanted to do. Go back and read how what's the book I'm trying to think of? The Misinformation. Miseducation. Go back and you already read that.
Yeah.
So the chains would never be able to hold us. What you had to do is to break us mentally. So I would argue then there were times in which throughout history where others were broken mentally in order to do that. So yes, they did put those physical chains and irons on us, but the controlling device was to break us. That's why they broke our families up. That's why they castrated us. That's why they lynched us. All that was in order to break us mentally.
Yeah.
So therefore, they didn't have to worry about locking us up. We weren't going to go anywhere. We're going to maintain this idea of inferiority over superiority, and they were superior and we're inferior.
Right. I agree with that. But this is physical yokes, but yes, they had to destroy us mentally. You read about accounts of a brother being tarred and feathered, his legs being tied to two horses, and the horses being whipped into different directions, ripping his body apart. Mm-hmm. That's going to mentally destroy people. Okay, I'm gonna do whatever this white man tell me to do because I don't want that to happen to me. Okay, but 48 again.
Yes, sir. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And
when it says want, that means lacking everything. You have to get it from them, right? Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed.
Now, just like we agree, they did physically put those yokes on our necks. Now, again, you can't attach this to Chinese people, Arab people, okay, East Indian people. They never had yokes of iron on their necks from another nation of people. This only happened to us. This makes us, remember, Moses said in verse 46, they shall be upon thee for a sign. Okay, this is a sign to identify these are the Israelites here. Okay, read 49. It's gonna further expound on who that nation is. Watch this.
Verse 49.
This is now remember in Esdras it says, these words shall thou declare plain and these shall thou hide. You remember we just read that when Esdras. So watch how this is kind of hidden. It's paraphrased. Watch how it says this.
And the Lord shall bring a nation against thee.
It says a nation. Now it's talking about the same nation from verse 48 that put the yokes of iron on the necks. Go ahead.
From far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
Now that right there, does that identify a particular people? It says, it just sounds like he's just saying they're going to do it really fast. But that's not. It's declared, it's kind of hidden. It says, as swift as the eagle flieth. Now, Greece had the eagle, Spain had the eagle, Portugal, okay, Rome, and guess who else? America. America has the eagle. What's on the coins? What's on that dollar bill? When they landed on the moon, they said what? The eagle has landed. God is telling us who that enemy is. Okay, read 48 and 49 together.
Yes, sir. Verse 48, Deuteronomy 28, 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Notice it says until, because you had a time period called the Emancipation Proclamation. So, okay, let them go. They free. They're not going. Now, going back to your point, being mentally destroyed, they're not going to go nowhere no more. You free now, okay? Many of the slaves went right back to the plantations and continued to doing what they were doing. Many of them did. Okay, read on.
The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth.
So it's telling us that nation that the guy was telling us was going to destroy us, they would identify themselves as the eagle. Now, let's get like either Malachi or Obadiah real quick,
sir.
Just to bring that point home real quick.
Obadiah 1 and 1 and then jump to 4?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 1.
Now, this is identifying the eagle. We're going into the eagle right here.
The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom.
Concerning Edom, right? Just talking about Edom. Read on.
We have heard a rumor from the Lord. An ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in the battle.
All right, skip to
Verse 4.
3.
Verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Now, Edom, God is talking about Edom. Their biblical name is Edom. Edom. He says, you that dwell in what?
The clefts of the rocks.
That's where they get the term Caucasian from the Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. They dwelt in the clefts of the rock. Their biblical name is Edom. Read it again, 3.
Yes, sir. The pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Yep.
Whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
Now, in order for anybody to make that statement, who shall bring me down to the ground, meaning what? They have to be in rulership. Okay, so Edom is in rulership, and they're saying, can't nobody conquer me. Okay, now watch what God says about them. This next verse.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle.
Though they exalt themselves as the eagle. Moses said that nation that would conquer you would be identified as the eagle. Read it again.
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle.
Yep.
And though thou set thy nest among the stars.
Now that says they set their nest among the stars. Now I just referenced that earlier. Remember, that goes back to 1969. When they landed on the moon, they said, what? The eagle has landed. Guess what? Who did that? Was it the Chinese? Japanese? No. That was America. Guess what? The same place where the slaves were brought on slave ships and sold to their enemies. The same people that Moses said, they're going to put yokes of iron on your necks until they have destroyed thee. That's who they are. Their biblical name is Edom. That's the Caucasian race. Read 4 again.
Yes, sir. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and thou set thy nest among the stars.
That's space travel, landing on the moon and so forth. Read on.
Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
God says he's going to bring them down. Because they said in their heart, who shall bring me down? God is saying, I'm going to bring you down. Okay, they destroyed God's people. Now, Malachi. We got a couple of minutes.
Malachi chapter 1 and verse 1. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel by Malachi. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother? Saith the Lord. Yet I loved Jacob and hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness.
Now, God says he hated Esau. Read on.
Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Now read 3 or 4 again, because I missed something.
Yes, sir. Verse 3. And I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste.
Now, I know you know that history about Jacob and Esau. They were both born. So this is talking about those two boys became 2 nations of people. Esau is Edom, because it's going to tell you that in the next verse. Read it again.
Yes, sir. And I hated Esau,
I hated Esau.
and laid his mountains and his heritage.
Now notice it says mountains there. Remember, Obadiah says, "Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock." Those mountainous regions, the what I said earlier,
Caucasus Mountains.
right? The Caucasus Mountains of Georgia, Russia. That was where they dwelt later. In the biblical text, they dwelt in Mount Seir. Read on.
And laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness.
Come on.
Whereas Edom saith,
Now, Esau is Edom. It's telling you right there. That's synonymous. Edom saith,
we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
it says, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. That's going into, I'll clarify. Keep going. Watch this.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness.
They shall call them the border of wickedness. God says these people are the border of wickedness. That's the beginning and evil of wickedness. Read on.
And the people who...
Now notice it says the people now, because it started out by referencing Esau singular in verse 3. This says Edom is the people whom what?
The people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever.
You see that? Whom God has righteous indignation against forever. Okay, forever. Now that's why. Now Romans 9:13.
Yes,
Now let's show you why Paul said this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Paul was referencing. Remember, Paul looked like an Egyptian. Guess what he said about Esau?
Romans chapter 9 and verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau...
Now he says, as it is written, because he was referencing what we just read in Malachi. As it is written, what?
Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
So Paul came back and confirmed that. Although, yes, the gospel was for the Gentiles, but that don't include Esau. You know,
It's 11.
It's 11.
So what I'll circle back around, and what I'm hoping when I talked about expectation, I'm hoping what the hour heard was that not, I would say to you all, not all churches are teaching this white Eurocentric watered down version of the gospel. They are being taught. I can't deny that, and so you all have a valid point that there has been some distortions with the use of and we know what religion has been used. Religion is used to brutalize nations. You know, not just us. Look at what was done in the Rwandan genocide and things like that. But I would also say what I had chosen to do, what I did not hear, and in defense of you, we only had an hour.
Correct.
What I did not hear and what I don't hear, for example, with the Nation of Islam and other organizations that are really pro, which we need those pro-black organizations, is the redemptive power. What is the redemptive message? You know, other than them, they're going to be destroyed. But I've chosen to teach the history as it should be, but also to teach our folk that there is a redemption available.
Yeah.
Even the most evil individual, if he submits himself to Christ, he can be redeemed. And so you got to land somewhere, and it sounds like you all have landed. Let's inform folk about our origin, and I respect that. But for my folk, I give them that, but I can't. That's not the I chose not. I can't. I chose not to leave them there. Mm-hmm. I chose to give them a redemptive message of hope. And because if I don't, they can't get anywhere. Because even if we can at least, okay, well, we all made a decision on today that we are the original Jews. So where do I go from there? Yeah. Where is it? So what about everybody else? Because even the message was sent to the Jews, but it wasn't. Well, you talk about Paul. What did Paul gets criticized because he takes it beyond the Jews. He takes it to the rest of the world, and that's how it was spread. It wasn't just. It was intended for the Jews, and it is meant to be for them. But
we didn't get to that point, but I
some would argue that the reason some would say the reason why others got it, they rejected it. Well, no, I believe that was part of the ultimate plan, that the whole world would hear, that message of salvation. So
well, that's why I read that point about Romans 9, because Paul, although he was sent, like I said, to the Gentiles and so forth, he understood.
Well, he chose to go. He made a decision to go. That was I really believe Paul just felt this message was too important that I'm going to take it. That's why he goes to Agrippa. That's why he goes. That's why he ultimately loses life, because Paul says, if I can preach this message of Christ to the center of the world, which at that particular time they would have thought have been Rome, then the whole world will be saved. Because Paul really believed that Jesus was going to return while he was still living. And so that's why he put, so he was determined. So as a result of that, because really he could have, when he went to a group, they already said, we already tried you. You're free. You didn't commit any law. But Paul said, no, I want to go before the king, go before Agrippa. So I have just simply chosen, right or wrong, and I'll be judged for it, to teach our folk to land on that redemptive message, but also to help them to clarify, to understand the message that the church did not come out of Europe. Again, what I said at the very beginning, that the Bible is not full of blonde hair and blue eyes. Jesus was not blonde hair and blue eyed.
I heard you say that.
Yeah. And if you look at, we base that upon the pictures. But those renditions, those pictures, they would mainly paint themselves and paint other people they knew. Mm-hmm. So yes, we do need to be re-educated, and I appreciate what y'all are doing to re-educate it. But again, I think we at some point in time let me. Maybe I won't say diverge. Maybe that's a strong link. But again, we choose to land on redemption. And so I give me what is the redemption message that you all are teaching? Give me that redemption message. So I can't accuse you all of doing something.
Perfect.
Give me the redemption. What's the redemption message that you all are preaching?
1 Kings 8:46. This ties all into identifying who we are, the signs that we're the Israelites, and redemption and so forth.
1 Kings chapter 8, verse 46. If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them to the enemy.
Again, same thing we read in Deuteronomy 28, being delivered to the enemy. Go ahead.
So that they carry them away captives into the land of the enemy, far or near.
Right, far or near Jerusalem. We were scattered across the four corners of the earth. Read on.
Yet, if they shall bethink themselves in the land whether they were carried captives.
Yet, if we shall bethink ourselves, that means remember. Oh, you know what? That is a sign. We are the Israelites. We were carried captive on slave ships. We were sold to our enemies. We had yokes of iron on our necks. It says, if we shall bethink ourselves, go ahead.
And repent.
Read it from the top 47.
Yes, sir. Yet, if they shall bethink themselves in the land whether they were carried captives.
So your redemptive message is becoming identifying as the Jews, as opposed to recognizing that God gave his life in order to save all of humanity.
It's a couple hand in hand, right? It's hand in hand. So I'm gonna finish this. I don't want to go too far, but yeah, hand in hand. Okay. 47.
Yet if they shall bethink themselves in the land whether they were carried captives, and repent, and make supplication unto thee in the land of them that carried them captive.
It's identifying where we have to repent and acknowledge. It says, in the land where they were carried captive, they have to acknowledge me. Read on.
Saying, we have sinned and have done perversely. Mm-hmm. We have committed wickedness, and so return unto thee with all their heart. And and with all their soul. In the land of their enemies, which led them away captive. Mm-hmm. And pray toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, the city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name.
So if we do that, this is the point.
Then hear thou their prayer and their supplication in heaven, thy dwelling place.
It says then hear their prayer and their supplication. So we have to go tell our people, listen, you are the Israelites. You got to repent as the Israelites in the land we were carried captive. Then Solomon prophesied, if we do that, God is going to hear us. He's going to redeem us. Okay. That was the point right there. Now, that's coupled with Christ. Give me Revelation 14. Just so that goes hand in hand. So remember, we the curses befell us for breaking God's commandments. And watch what it says here. Coupled with Christ.
Revelation chapter 14 and verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God
That's in the laws of Moses and New Testament as well, but keep the commandments of God. Go ahead.
and the faith of Jesus.
And understand that Christ died for our sins, and we have to acknowledge that and put away animal sacrifice. So we're not saying the laws of Moses including sacrifice. No, Christ did away with that when he died and gave us a chance to repent. So acknowledging we're the Israelites, keeping God's commandments in the faith of Christ, the black Messiah, as you agree.